Hey everyone, it's Austin with QuantVue. So today I wanted to switch things up and bring you guys in and show you a coding session of where I'm taking some suggestions and issues from one of our members on one of the strategies that we have on the GitHub and making changes to apply some bug fixes to fix some stuff. So today we are talking about Gridmoney. Gridmoney has been out for a little while. It's been kind of non-consistent, I would say, as far as profits for the past couple of weeks. And there's a few suggestions that one of our members have given me, and I'm going to take those suggestions today and put them into the script. And we're going to see this week how well the different changes change the outcome of our profit and loss throughout the week. So if you haven't seen Gridmoney, I'll give you a quick description on how it takes trades. So it uses three different conditions here. First, we have the Q grid, step MA, that's this thing here. This is bullish, this is bearish. There's a whole nother video on Q grid that you can go look at all the specifics on that. The next one would be the Heikin-Ashi H2 series. That's the cyan and light blue in here. So again, bullish is the cyan, bearish is the light blue. And then our third condition is the money ball here. So whenever it gets over the threshold, it signals the condition is met for bullish and under the red threshold for bearish. So if you have all three of them line up at the same time, so you have a bullish Q grid step MA, that's this one. Then you have a bullish Heikin-Ashi series, that's this. And you have a bullish over the threshold money ball, that's this here. There would be an entry right here, right there. And then the exit, the way that it is coded right now, we would have an exit whenever your HA2 series goes bearish, changes direction. So that would be right here. So that's a decent trade. So the problem that we've been having is whenever we get into some chop, it doesn't necessarily matter how slow your Q grid is going. You're going to have some areas where your HA2 series is going to switch back and forth pretty quickly. And whenever it does that, it kind of, the trades kind of go back to your buy entry, or they're a little bit under. So you might, with one contract, you might lose like $5, but it's all of those little entries and exits build up commissions over time. And you're paying a lot of commissions by the end of the day, and it's going to eat at your profits and losses. So we want to make the entries and exits kind of a little bit more user defined. So instead of it only taking an exit whenever the HA2 changes directions, we're going to change today how it does that. So for our agenda today, we are going to change the entry logic to optional settings. I'm going to add Moneyball as an option, the HA2 as an option, and Q grid as an option. So all three of those will be optional by the end of this session. And then the exit logic, we're going to change and either give it a target only, a Moneyball bias flip, or an HA2 directional change, which is what I was just talking about. So those two things, those two logics will be completely changed around and made completely optional. And then our last thing, I'm going to add in some taskbar buttons up at the top here. And we're going to add the option to take longs only, shorts only, pause trades completely while still leaving the strategy going in the background. And then a buy entry button that will take your stop loss to your buy entry level. And then the last one we're going to put in is a flatten button. And the flatten button will close out of your trades without closing out of the strategy. So if you were to come over with your strategy on and you were in a position and you click close in ChartTrader, it would completely knock you out of your strategy. And you would have to completely go back into your settings and re-enable the strategy. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a bar in there, a little button at the top that's just a flatten button, and it will allow you to exit the trade. If you feel uncomfortable with the trade, you can click the button. It'll exit the trade, but it'll still keep you in the strategy, so it will make the next entry if the next entry comes along. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to flip over now to the editor, and we'll kind of go through a little bit of what's going on here. So I have a lot of stuff commented out. A lot of this stuff are kind of old things that I had in here to begin with. I didn't want to get rid of them because the new stuff wasn't tested, just in case I needed to go back to the old way of doing stuff. I always do that. I want to verify something works before I get rid of the old stuff. Saves a lot of time and a lot of me going back to backups, trying to figure out where my old code was. So I like to keep it in here. It doesn't really cause any problems. All it does is take up space and makes it a little bit confusing. I haven't really done much as far as useful commenting in this script, which I need to do sometime soon. A lot of my other scripts are very well commented out. So anyone can go in and understand what was going on. So today, let's start with our entry logic. So our entries, let's start with the bullish stuff. So set one right here. This is our bullish entry. So the entry block is just this block right here. So it's seeing if the time is correct within the parameters set in the settings, if your trailing stop loss is hit yet, if it's okay to trade, that's another stop loss deal. That's the daily profit and loss stop loss. If the market position is flat, that means you don't have any positions. And then the rest of it is just a build off of this okay to trade. It's a couple more things to make sure that it doesn't take another entry if you've already hit your daily loss or profit target. All right, so then if all of that stuff in those lines align and are true, then it will go to the next level of this block, which are this is the long, this is the short. So it's just taking a standard entry here. It's just one, where the default quantity is based on what you set in the settings. And then the conditions to enter a long would be the Moneyball V bar of the current bar, that's what the 0 is greater than the MB threshold, the Moneyball threshold. And this is that user input variable in your settings. The next one, so we have a double ampersand here. That means and. So these conditions have to meet at the same time. It's not like an or where either or can hit whenever they want. This and means that they both have to hit at the same time. So the next one is your grid flip, and that's your step MA for your Q grid. So I have another block up here. Whenever it gets a signal, it will change flip flop 1 and 2 between for the grid flip 1. And then another double ampersand, so and. We have a bullish HA2. So this here, again, we have a flip flop up here. That's this block, and it's going to tell if your HA2 is bullish or if it's bearish, and it's based on the open and close of the bars. It flip-flops between 1 and 2. 1 is bullish and 2 is bearish. So whenever all of those, since it's and again, all of those meet at the same time, or all of them are true at the same time, it will go inside there and it will open a long. So the first thing that we want to do is make the Moneyball optional. So the way that we would do that is first we want to put the Moneyball inside of some brackets here, and then go down to the bottom. So this is our properties region. This is where we would get all of the user input variables. So where should we put that? We have trade parameters. That's probably where we would want to put it. I need a bool. So I'm going to take from this and I'm going to paste underneath it. And then I'm going to say use Moneyball for entry with the question mark. And then order, we want it to come after the number of contracts. So I'm going to put 1 because in coding you start at 0. You do not start at 1. 0 is a number. And then we need to make a variable here. So our bool is going to be, let's do use Moneyball. Let's just make it easy. And then it'll do a get set and see what you have in there. So I'm going to copy this. So since this is declared down here, I do not need to add it to my variable declarations here. However, I do need to add it to the default settings. So I'm going to set a use Moneyball, and I'm going to say true is our default value. So whenever you open up just a plain, hasn't been edited before strategy, like you download it from GitHub and you compile it and you open it up for the first time, it's going to say that Moneyball setting is true. All right. So we're going to go back down here and we're going to do we want either the Moneyball, the V-bar to be greater than the threshold, or, which would be this is an or symbol, or we want use Moneyball to equal false. So whenever we have use Moneyball is equal to false, that would make this entire statement true. So this would be true. Then we would have our ampersands here, and we would wait for those to be true as well. So if you want an either or, so either you want to use this, so your use Moneyball would be true, then this part would be false, and you would have to wait until this is true. So that's how we would get the setting in the strategies tab to make either use it or don't use it. So that's how we'd put that in there. So the next one would be let's do the Heikinashi 2. That's the next one on my list. So that's this one here. So again, we're going to go down to the bottom and we're going to go underneath our use Moneyball for entry. We're going to copy that. And this time we're going to use the HA2 for entry. And that's going to be number 2012. And then we'll change this to use HA2, and we're going to have to actually expand on this. So we're going to use HA2 entry. Let's spell it right here. And I'm going to change our use Moneyball to use Moneyball entry as well. All right. So it's declared down here. Go back up, set our default value. We're going to equal that to true. Remember to change our use Moneyball to use Moneyball entry. We're going to go down to our entry logic. We use Moneyball entry. And then we're going to put our use HA2 entry is equal to false. All right, so now that's in there. Now it doesn't care if you have this set to false. If you don't want to use the HA2 entry, that would make this part true. So that would be negative logic. And then that would knock out this entire thing. And it wouldn't matter if the bull bear HA2 is bullish or bearish. If you have that to false, it just does not care. All right, so that one's taken care of. Now we're going to do the Q grid bias, and we'll be doing that the same exact way. So we can go ahead and set this up. We know how we're going to do it. So we're going to do or use Q grid entry is equal to false. There we go. There's that. I'm going to copy this. And we're going to go back down. I'm going to paste that there just for safekeeping because I have to paste our bool. back in, and then cut, paste. I'm going to Q grid for entry, change that to 3. And we need to go back up again to our default values and set this to true. So we have it on. That's just our default. If you don't want it on, just uncheck it. That's all you got to do. I'm going to save just for fun. It's because I don't want to have to redo all of this. All right, so the next thing I want to do is apply this to the short as well. So I'm going to take a copy of this, and I'm going to put it above the old one, and then I'm going to change the values to what they need to be. So I'm going to take this, put it here, grid 1 flip, I'm going to take and put into here, and then the Heikinashi 2 I'm going to take and put into here. And then I'm going to take the old one out. So now we have our go long, our long would be here, and then our short would be underneath it. So the entry logic, the optional entry logic should be okay. So one thing that we can do is I'm going to save and hit compile, and then we can go over to the chart and we can test to make sure that those values are, or those options have been put into the strategy itself. So the way to do that, you have to disable your strategy, and then I'm going to go into the settings here. And then if we look under number 3, trade parameters, we're going to use Moneyball for entry. Our default value was true, so the check mark is in there. Same for the HA2 and the Q grid. So those are in there. We know that those are in there, so we're going to move on to the next thing. All of my testing will be done throughout the week. I'm not going to take the time to test the stuff right now. All right, so let's go through and make our optional exit logic. So to do our exit logic, we're going to, first we want to put in a profit target. And to do that, I already kind of have it in here. And I'm going to change stuff around. So to make it to where it's going to be an optional part, I have to put another if statement in. So I'm doing if, and in this case, it's a target. So we're going to, if exit target is equal to true, we want something to happen. So I'm going to put in some brackets here. And then I'm going to cut and paste this up here. So for our profit target, we have go long because we want to attach it to this. That way it cancels out anything, any other orders that are attached to that string, it will cancel out. I want to change this to ticks because I use ticks a lot more. And then for our variable that we're going to set, it's going to be TP for take profit. Again, we can do, let's get rid of some lines here. We can do the same thing for the short. And in this case, we don't even have to change anything. All right, so actually we do. Let's change go long to go short. That way it cancels out if you exit out early. All right, so that's done. Now we need to make sure that we have a take profit variable. I don't believe we do. I'm pretty sure that was from a different one. So let's look through here. So no, I don't see a take profit. All right, so now we have to make that variable. And let's go back to our editor. So this one is going to be an integer. So I can take any type of integer. I'm going to take just, this is fine. It doesn't really matter. We can change out everything that we want to. It's the first one that actually, I'm going to change up what we're doing here. So sorry if I'm rambling a little bit. This is how I think whenever I'm coding. I think I like something and then I like something better. So I change stuff around on the fly. So I'm going to do use profit target for exit. Let's spell correctly. All right. All right. So let's see. So we want to change, that's trade parameters. Perfect. We have 3. Next is 4. Perfect. And then what did we make our variable? So we have exit target. Actually, that name should change too. That should be use exit target. And then the next one should be exit target ticks. Let's do it that way. All right. So I'm going to take this up and I'm going to replace our variables here. Use exit target. Perfect. And then we're going to go back down, grab that variable. This is our integer. While I'm here, while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to change our range from 1. So the lowest number that it will allow you to put in here is 0, and then the highest is the maximum integer value. It's just to give it a range to make sure that you put stuff in correctly. You can't put in a non-integer value. It'll give you an error if you try. All right. So actually, let's do some housekeeping while we're down here. We need to change this to I've got insert on and I don't know how to turn it off. I will be right back. All right, I am back. All right, so we were changing this to a different name. So we're putting our ticks here. So our profit target, and then I put in something like this to signify that it's ticks. I'm going to copy trade parameters down here. And I got there we go, quotation marks. And then change it to 5. All right, so now we have exit target ticks. That's an integer value. So we can put that integer value directly into the set profit target function here. So it's going to set a profit target called go long, which is attached to this. And the calculation mode is ticks. That way it knows to take this number here and apply it as ticks to your profit target. And that'll take it off of your entry level. And again, for the profit target for the short, it'll just take it off. So that's put in there. Let's see. So we need default values. For ticks, I'm going to say 0 is the default. And then for use target, I'm going to say false. That's going to be our defaults for those. So that's taken off of the list. Let's take a look at how this exits. So here's our exit logic. Right now, you have to have a position already open. So in this case, this is a position is equal to long. So this will only fire if you have a long position. And then your only variable or your only condition for exiting along right now is your bull bear changes from bullish to bearish. So we want to change that. So I want to again take parentheses around this and I want to put an or exit HA2. We want this to equal false. And that will make it so it either has to equal to or you have it unchecked. So if you went in there and you had nothing checked, it just wouldn't exit. You'd have to exit manually. All right. So we have, what did we use for that? We had exit HA2. So we have to go back down to the properties. This is all coding is you just keep flipping back and forth and add stuff as you need it. All right. I need a bool. So I'm taking this. Use HA2 for exit. And our next number in the order is 6. I think I put a different name up here. I like that name better. It makes it easier. Use exit HA2. There we go. And then for this, we're going to put in a true as the variable. That's going to be your standard default exit. And then our last optional exit would be the money ball. So in which case we're going to say money ball goes below the V bar. So I'm going to take, or the V bar goes below the threshold. So I'm going to take this and put it up here. So we have entry. This time we're going to change to exit. And we want to say that it goes below the threshold. So use Moneyball exit. We're going to go back down to our properties, take this bool, copy it, paste it, and then use Moneyball for exit. Trade parameters is correct for the group name. Next number is 7. And then what did we name it? Here's our entry. Here's our exit. We're going to copy and paste that. And I'm going to save it. So that's going to be our exit for that. So now we have a long deal here. We're going to take all of this stuff and we're going to copy it here, and then we'll change some values. So HA2 was 1 for a short exit. And then for the money ball, we're going to change that and change it to the lower threshold. So both exits now have optional values. I want to hit save and then compile. Whenever that's done, perfect. We're going to go back over to the chart. We're going to open up the settings and we're going to make sure that that stuff's in there too. So use profit target for exit, and then you would set your profit target there. And then your other two, so we had the standard exit as the HA2, which is checked. That's correct. And then the money ball for exit, which is optional, which is the unchecked as default. So all of those are in there. So we can hit cancel. Perfect. We're going to go back to our editor. And our last things to do are to add the taskbar buttons. So what we're going to do there is I already have some taskbar buttons already made for Leon Grid. And we're going to go through this and we're going to take some stuff out of here and put into the other one. So I want to take all of this. And this might be a little clunky to start out with. We might have to actually test this. One thing you can do is take this and do your indentation over to line everything up, which is good. And I'd have to line up all the other stuff manually. I'm not going to do that right now. I'll do it while I'm off of the recording. All right, so let's go through and make sure that we have all of our stuff. And one thing that I do while I'm doing this is I will go through and get it to where I think it is correct, and then I will hit the the compile button and it'll throw me errors, which is fine, which is like what I want it to do. And then I will go through and I will make sure that I pick up all of the things that it needed to compile. It's one of the easier ways that I've found to go through and make sure you have everything that you need. All right, so that's all of the stuff. We want to put this, if we go back over here, we want to put it before the properties region. So with Ninja Script Editor, properties can be minimized. So there it looks the same as here. Going to copy or enter down a couple times and paste. So now we have all of the button logic put in there. I want to make sure that there are no custom enums or enumerations. Go down past all of this. Nope. And that's just for Leon Grid. So each script will have their own enums. So we have one for Gridmoney here. That's just for the time mode. I'm going to be changing those to a checkbox instead, so we don't have to have any custom enums in there, which would be very, very helpful in the future. All right, so to go through this, to kind of give you an idea of what's going on, so we're making the chart window the parent. We're going to go down through and put in the default button styles, give them some default names, add the style to the buttons, add the buttons to the toolbar, make sure everything's visible, and then subscribe to the events. And then as you go through here, all of these different functions will do different things. So we do have to add some stuff to our entry logic and exit logic. So we want to take allow longs. That's going to be, actually we might have to add that variable as well. So we're going to go to our, this is our long entry block here. So we want to put in another variable here, another condition. Allow longs we want to equal true. So whenever the button shows false or show disallowing longs, as I think the way that I have it set up, this will change to false and it will completely block out this entry logic. So same thing goes with this. I'm going to go ahead and paste in allow longs, but I'm going to change it to allow shorts. And it's throwing an error because I didn't put in the ampersands. There we go. And that should go away. Perfect. Save. What else do we have? All right, so there's allowing longs, disallowing longs. All it does is flip-flops allow longs true and false. And I have it set to print into the output window. That's just for debugging. So I can click it and it'll show when I click it in that box. So allow shorts works the same way as allow longs. And then we want to put in the pause trades. That's going to be in a level above. Oop, want to stay on Gridmoney. We're going to go over to, actually, how do I do it in Leon Grid? I want to make sure that I have it set up because there was a few things that I did in Leon Grid where I put in a variable or a condition and it didn't like how I did it. So, all right, so I have it here. I have it underneath the 2 time. I'm going to add it to the 2 time, I think. I think I'm going to add it into this string. We're going to do an and paste in that pause trades, and we want it to equal false. So whenever pause trades is false, it will allow trades. All right. Next is the exit or the flat. Nope. Next is the go to buy entry. All right. So we don't have a stop loss set for any of our entries. So what this is going to do is whenever you're at a price that you don't want to give away, you can hit this go to BE button. It's just going to say BE on the toolbar. But whenever you press that, it's going to add in a stop loss. So it's going to set a stop loss at the calculation mode of price, because we can pull this price from your average price, and it will set that stop loss directly on your entry. So it's saying to do that, if you press the go to BE, it's going to lock it out. If you, in this case, this is the short block. It's going to lock out if you're not in a short in this one, and your position average price is not equal to 0, and then your close is less than your average price. And again, that's for short. So if your price is not less than, or the current price of the last bar is not lower than the average price, whenever you're in a short, it will not allow you to go to BE. Because if it happens that you press this BE, go to BE button, and your price is for the short above your buy entry, if I didn't have this block out here, this condition in here, it would completely knock out your script and throw you an error, and you'd have to go back in and re-enable your script. So I put that in there to block that out so that doesn't happen, to make it easier for everyone. So the same thing goes for long. Again, it's not going to do it if your position, your average price isn't, or is equal to 0. So you can get that average price is equal to 0 if you happen to open on the open of a bar, and then say you have a 15-minute bar or something like that. So this script is set to run once per bar. So every time a bar closes, this script will run. So if you're in between bars, so you open on the 5-minute of your 15-minute bar, and then your price goes up, and you hit the go to BE button, it's not going to allow you because it hasn't stored the average price yet. So it has to close the bar before it will store that average price for you. So the same thing goes with Renko bars. It's a lot quicker with the Renko bars. So before the next bar closes, your average price is going to be equal to 0. So it's not going to allow you to press that, which with a Renko bar, that's probably not going to happen unless you have a very ridiculously sized Renko bar. And then the last portion, like we said before, it has to be greater than the average price in a long. So that's what that is. So we're going to put that in there. We're not going to attach a string name to it, because when a stop loss closes, it closes out all other existing orders on the strategy. That's just the way that they're coded in. And then the last, that's flatten. So that should be, oh no, we have to put in flatten. Sorry. Well, one more thing. So we have flatten. That's this little box right here. So whenever you're in something and you want to get out of it where you are without worrying about the buy entry, but you don't want to hit the close button on the chart trader, like I said before, you can click this flatten button and it will knock you out of the trade, but it'll allow you to stay in your strategy. It'll keep running and keep looking for the next entry. So we don't need to do anything. That one's already done. Look at that. I coded it. So the first way that I coded it is I made it set a variable which would trigger one of the already made exit functions. So the reason I did it this way is, like I said in the last function, it has to wait until the bar closes before it will set that variable and knock you out of your trade. So this way is a whole lot easier. It will knock you out of your trade as soon as you press it. So it's going to close your position whenever you press it and not wait for the bar to close. All of these other ones will wait until the bar closes, except for this one, obviously. So your allow shorts, your pause trades, and your allow longs all have to wait for the next bar close before it will change your variables, before it will acknowledge that your variables have changed. So it's one thing to think about whenever you're pressing those buttons. So let's see, we have go short, we have go long, we have all of the entry logic set that we wanted to, we have all the exit logic set that we wanted to, we have the buttons. The last thing to do is save and then compile, and it saves. Oh, there we go. All right, allow short does not exist in the current context. How about allow shorts with an S? Let's do that. Hit compile again. And that one doesn't throw us any errors, so that should be good. So I'm going to go back to our chart, go into our settings, and we're going to look and make sure that all of the stuff is in there just like we want it, which it should be good. I'm going to hit this enable button and hopefully it runs okay. All right, so everything came on and we don't have our buttons. So that's an issue. So let's go ahead and troubleshoot that. So I'm going to knock out the strategy, go in here. We're going to go over to Leon Grid because that's where most of this was put in the first place. Let's make sure we have all of our stuff. So we have buttons here. Let's go over here. We have allow buttons here. Okay. I just want to go through and make sure that all of our stuff is put in here correctly. That's our profit and loss. Keep going through our add toolbar. So where does it, let's take a look at this. Let's make a find. And that's the only place that it calls it. Now let's go into this one. Do a find, and let's find where, there we go. So this is what I forgot to pull in. So we have our state changes to real time, and we want this stuff to be put in. So I'm going to copy. I'm going to go in over here, make sure we don't have a real time or a terminated, which we don't. We're going to place this else if statement. There we go. There's some good ones. So that's that. That's that. Got one too many. I'm going to take this stuff and I'm going to take some indents off of it to line it up. Perfect. We're going to compile and make sure we don't get any errors, and then go back over and make sure whenever we enable, our buttons should come up this time. There we go. All right, so now we have the buttons at the top. So whenever you're going throughout your trading day, you can either click allow. If you're clicking allowing longs, whenever you click it, it'll change to disallow. And I'm going to pull this NinjaScript output window open, and you can see that it changed to false. Allow longs changed to false. I'm going to move it over here because it's going to cover it up. So I'll change the size here and we can take a look at what's going on here. So I'm going to click that and it's going to change to true. Allow shorts, same thing, works great. Trades paused, works good. BE, it's not going to throw anything because we're not in anything, and then flatten, it'll just, yep, perfect. I don't have a print in the BE, do I? I do. Oh, there you go. So it's blocking you out because you don't have a short or a long entry. The position is 0 and the close isn't above or below your average. So everything that I said before is not true. So it's not going to print, which is good. Exactly the way that we wanted it to. All right, so that should be about everything. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to upload what we have now to the GitHub, and I'm going to get in the folder here. Pull this over. So we're in a custom in our NinjaTrader custom. We're going to go to strategies, and we're going to go down to Gridmoney. Yep, there it is. Perfect. And then while I'm on here, I'm going to open GitHub. We're going to open our GitHub repository, go into strategies, and then I'm going to find Gridmoney here and I'm going to edit it. I'm going to get rid of this playback thing so we can see. I'm going to select everything. And then I open Windows Explorer for no reason because I can select everything in here too, paste it, and commit the changes. And we're going to say our commit message is update Gridmoney, and then we've changed entry logic is now optional. Add buttons to toolbar. And we're going to commit it directly to the main toolbar. Nice. So I'm an engineer. Words is hard. Don't judge. All right. So that's put in there, and that's available for everyone to download now. So that'll allow us to make some interesting finds throughout the week. I'll have that up on the stream. And we'll test it and see what's going on. Make sure everything's running okay. All right, so if you are not a member of QuantVue and you would like to try Gridmoney out, as well as all of our other strategies, such as the official QGrid or Iceberg for NinjaTrader, or there's a few other ones that we have in there. So we have a custom QCloud, Moneyball, Momentum, QWave. There's a squeeze in there. So all of the custom ones are on the GitHub. The official QGrid, which is consistent, is on the QuantVue NinjaTrader toolkit. All of that stuff is talked about in previous videos. But if you're not a member and you want to try all of these things out, you want to go to quantvue.io and you want to sign up for a 14-day free trial. If you're at it, why don't you comment on whether you liked this coding session, if it helps you out, helps you understand how the strategies work a little bit better, and we'll continue it if the feedback is positive. So that's it for today. Have a good one.